Do we say cheers?
I suppose you're so far away, but
I mean,
huzzah. Nobody just says the hype. Everybody goes, the hype, the hottest show on the street.
the spider was on the wall. Beat it to death.
I was sure I was going to be a rapper.
You guys should be called Beferdu. And we're like, no.
Why are you asking me to leave my house on a Sunday?
I need to eat. I need to eat. Because it was like,
dun,
Saying this is so us. I come running for advice because it's you I trust. I got your back. I got your back.
It's a little nerve-wracking, isn't it?
I was like sitting here just thinking, but first coffee. First episode.
That first little action. That
Exactly.
freaked me out a little bit, I'm not going to lie.
How you doing, baby?
Welcome to But First Coffee. This is
Our first episode.
a very long time in the making, but you guys get to see it
I'm so
today.
excited for us.
It's a congratulations moment for sure, and we like to start everything with commemorating it.
Right.
Me, like, I want to remember this. I want to be in the moment.
Do we say cheers?
I suppose you're so far away, but
I mean,
huzzah. So for the first episode, we just kind of wanted to take our time to introduce ourselves to the audience. Of course, we've brought people along our journey because we have been in media and in radio for such a long time. But it's radio, you know what I mean? They very rarely get to see our faces.
they don't. People are probably used to our faces on or our voices on different radio stations, but they get to see us for the first time, which is cool.
It's exciting. I'm super, super happy. And so this is us introducing But First Coffee. This is us also introducing Awazi.
Ourselves, we're Awazi, in
Yes.
case people don't know. But I think we have to start at the very beginning. People have to know who TG is, who Hawi is,
Yeah.
and how we came together.
Yes. So when I was conceived,
Not that far back.
if you insist. So for those of you that don't know us, I am TG. This is my sister, Hawi.
I'm Hawi.
And we are Awazi. If we have to go way back, me personally, I was born and raised in Awasa. Something I'm very proud of. Something that I tell people every opportunity I get. I'm like, I'm from Awasa.
It's cool.
It used to be. We'll get to that some other time. We'll discuss that some other time. But to just give you guys a brief bio about us, about me. I was born and raised in Awasa. I moved to Addis when I was 18.
All right.
I moved to Addis to study at Addis Ababa University. More specifically, Addis Ababa Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
While at Amaskilo, I started doing radio sort of halfway through my campus career. And that was a solid 7 or 8 years ago.
So are you saying that we both started to do radio while we were both in university?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're hustlers. One thing that our audience definitely needs to know about us is we were born with the hustle. We were born with the go-get-it spirit for sure. So I started in my beginning of my third year of campus. I was studying mechanical engineering. So during the day, I had classes at Amaskilo, and at night, I used to go and do a show called The Hype. If you guys remember The Hype.
Of course.
On Afro FM. It's The Hype, the hottest show on the streets.
Oh my gosh, that was your tagline.
It was. Nobody just says The Hype. Everybody goes, The Hype, the hottest show on the streets.
Yeah.
So I did The Hype for about 5 years, I believe, with my former co-host. And that is also where we met as well. And technically, we should be very different.
What do you mean different?
Because you have a different upbringing than I do.
Very different. So just to give you guys a quick rundown of my background, I was born in Geberezgi, but I left when I was 2.
Yeah.
And I went to the States, lived there for practically my whole life, came back to Ethiopia, and that was a cultural shock.
Yeah.
I think I told you how I was so shocked when I first came back home, which we'll get into another episode. But yeah, I started to learn journalism, did radio while I was in campus, which was just volunteering. I was just volunteering in radio, but it was a lot of fun and ended up becoming a journalist. But initially, I thought I was going to be a doctor. I was going to go into med school.
You went to med school, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I was supposed to go to med school as well.
Yeah?
So we both kind of abandoned.
I was like, this is not for me. I hate this.
We apologized to all the doctors.
But
your job
ended up going into journalism, did radio, and met you at Afro. But I had a show in the morning. So initially, we never saw each other because I had my show early in the morning, the breakfast show.
Yeah.
And then I switched to Afro Drive in the afternoon, which was like, right before your show.
Never leaving.
And the thing was, the reason why we got to be closer is because I would stay even when you guys did your show too. So that's essentially how me and you became friends.
Yeah.
But we weren't close.
Like we knew each other in we were colleagues.
We hung out like in a group setting, but we never had our one-on-one until like a few years later.
Absolutely. We always had this weird little thing where we had the same sunglasses, same umbrella.
Same lipstick.
And we'd always be like, oh my God, I have the same thing.
Like, stop copying off of me.
Little did we know.
We would end up being really good friends.
Yeah, so we left Afro and we actually went to EBC.
Yes.
And that is sort of where
Awazi was birthed.
It was. And I have to say, initially, it was a much larger group of people that were supposed to be along with us for the journey.
So it was like 2 guys, 2 girls.
Yes. And a couple of supportive background characters as well.
Yeah.
And me and you weren't the closest out of the bunch either.
We were close to the other people in the group. And somehow it ended up being where we were the only 2 left. But it worked out very gradually. It wasn't like, how do I say this? It wasn't uncomfortable, the fact that it ended up just being me and you.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I kind of like this.
I'm happy with what we have going on.
And I realized we actually like each other and we're actually very similar. I did not expect that. I thought we would be very different.
That's what I meant too by, you grew up in Minnesota.
I did.
I grew up in Awasa, but it was sort of eerie how similar our life experiences were, our perspectives on the world as well, to the point where we were like, we might as well have grown up in the same house at this point, because that's ridiculous. Did you always know that you wanted to be in media and entertainment?
So when I was graduating high school, the first year of college, like in the States, you don't have to figure out your major.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, learn, the general courses, and then you'll kind of figure it out on the way. So my dad was like, join nursing or medicine or whatever. And I did it because I did not know what I wanted to do. It was one of those things where I was still trying to figure out who I wanted to be. And I think in the midst of being in medicine, I was like, I don't want to be this.
Yeah.
So I got out, and then I saw a documentary on Al Jazeera, and the way that it broke my heart, and I realized I think I'm a storyteller. So journalism, documentary, I think that's more of my thing. And that's when I decided to do journalism.
I see.
But radio, no.
Didn't see that coming.
I didn't see that coming. What about you?
I think I was always destined for some sort of stage, in the sense that even when I was a kid, I was always the kid that was performing, sort of. I was always on stage. Like at the end of the year, we'd have like Yola Jushkan, where parents would come and you'd perform and do little poems. So I was always on stage, voluntarily too. Nobody made me.
Oh, wow.
So I did find a sort of ease speaking to large groups of people. Being on a stage or in front of people never bothered me.
Right.
And before I did radio, I did music a little bit.
Don't say a little bit. You sang. People knew you.
Not enough.
I think you rap. Did you rap?
Lord, this is... I keep embarrassing myself. Yes. So when I was in high school, like a lot of us, I was sure I was going to be a rapper.
What was your rap name?
I don't want to tell you.
You got to tell us now.
I'm sorry. It's not even PG. So no. I'll tell you off camera. But I met this older white lady. This is such a crazy story too. Her name was Carol. Her house was right behind my high school. And she was basically doing like an outreach program where she was teaching people how to tell their own stories by using music, dancing, graffiti, that type of stuff.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know this about Hawassa, but Hawassa has such a deep hip hop culture, which is surprising. But we had B-boys, B-girls, graffiti artists, skateboarders, even when I was in high school. And so we had this whole hip-hop scene that was unfolding in my city. And she was the first person to be like, you should perform, you should do music. And I was like, sure, I'll try. Why not? A couple of weeks into it, I was opening for artists like Tedio. Mind you, I'm 16. And I'm not getting paid for these gigs either. So it wasn't glamorous or fancy. And I had very strict parents, so I always had to be home before the street lights came on.
Yeah.
So it was a lot juggling a secret music career while living.
You had a double life.
Wow. Yeah, I've lived several lives, I have to be honest. But that's kind of how I got into entertainment. The first time I ever went to Afro FM was to be interviewed as an up-and-coming artist. But I got there and there was FZ. I don't know if you guys remember FZ, but he did songs like a song with Josie and Mafi in the House, that song. So he's a producer for a couple of artists. Okay. And then it was him and a couple of other artists. And once I got there, I didn't want to talk about me. I wanted to talk about them because I wanted to know how did they get into the music, da-da-da. And so as opposed to being interviewed, I started asking them questions. And at the time, it was KB. You guys might know KB from Mahad Radio. Mm-hmm. But KB was like, you should come back next week. He was like, and then the week after that, he was like, you should come back next week. And I just unexpectedly became his co-host for a little while. And that's how I got my foot into radio. It wasn't planned or anything. But I'd very confidently say one of the best things that's ever happened to me, for sure.
That's nice.
Super proud of it.
I have something similar with you in the fact that since I was like 15, 16, I would be on stage, but it's like church stage. Because I used to pray, and I was a good church girl, and I would like teach the Bible. So I am. Yes. But I did that. And then I think I've always been on stage in the sense that I'm used to speaking in front of a lot of people. Because after that, I would teach, and I would teach, like, you know what I mean, like among students too. So I'm used to being on stage, but I never thought media is the way that I would go. Yeah. Radio is the way that I would go. So when I came to Afro, I think I heard that there was an opening, and I was like, I want to do radio. I think I'd be good at this. And so I went, and when they interviewed me, they were like, the only slot that's opened is the early morning show.
Lord, that was such an early show.
Early morning show means that they would come and pick me up at like 5 a.m. And the show would start at like 6:30-ish. So you got to prep and get ready. And so when they interviewed me, he's like, are you a morning person? And I was like, I can be.
For the right amount.
For the right amount of money. And so he's like, okay, let's see how you are the first week in terms of chemistry. And that's when I met my co-host. And I was like, okay. And we had a good vibe. It was good chemistry. And since then, I started to do radio.
Yeah.
So that was how I started to be a morning person. Prior to that, I wasn't a morning person.
I still am not.
I became a morning person by force.
I see.
But I like it now. I embrace it now. But like coming to us doing Awaze. First of all, who picked the name again?
My husband's cousin, which is the funniest story.
How did he think you guys should be called Awaze?
I think he had the name. He liked the name, and he wanted to workshop it into something he wanted to do. And it was, just socializing, and then we were talking about it, and I was telling them all the ideas that we had for our show. And I was like, one thing that we all agree on as a group is we really like food, so we would love it to be associated with Ethiopian food in some way. And then he was like, Awazi. And I was like, gimme. He was like, I was going to use it for myself. I said,
Awazi's great.
I don't care. This is your one favor that you owe me. I want the name.
I
Give
think
me it.
your husband was like, you guys should be called Beferdu. And we're like, no.
We're like, that's so long.
So ridiculous. Nobody's going to call us. But Awazi's a great name. I'm glad we chose that.
Like, it's very, it's a great way to start a conversation about our country and our culture.
True.
Even if it's for people who don't live here necessarily.
But it also kind of is like, if people understand what Awazi is, they're like, you guys must be spicy.
I get that all the time.
Do they ask you that?
Yeah.
Nobody has asked me that.
Yeah.
Nobody. People are like, Awazi, that's cool. So anyway.
I like the name. Why did you feel that it was important for us to continue to occupy this space in media? Because it hasn't necessarily been easy.
No.
Especially because we're not the clickbait type of content creators where it's not push it out and it goes viral overnight and oh my God, they're a sensation. We've always taken our time.
Because we care about quality.
That's true. So
I think we come from content too, where we are radio people. So we understand that people are not seeing us. So your voice is everything. So we understood that content in terms of grabbing people's attention based on what you're talking about is important. So I think from that, we're like, first of all, I don't think we've seen in our country so far 2 girls in Ethiopia, not these, creating content in English together. So we're like, I think that there is a space for us. And you know what I mean? The fact that we've been doing this for a while, I think it allows us to be able to say we're comfortable in this space too. But I think it also allowed us to see that there could be more. We're opening the door. It's not like it's only us, but we want it to feel like, hey, there isn't really a lot of other, you know what I mean, women in this space who do English content shows, and hopefully there are more people who come after us too. So
yeah, that is another thing that we should explain to our audience as well, as why we chose this language medium. We'll explain in further shows, but
because people are going to talk about
like, why in
this.
English? Why? Hey, first of all,
We have our reasons.
I think for the most part, this is what I always say when I get asked these questions, because people will hear my accent and they're always like, oh, did you grow up abroad? I'm like, I have never left Ethiopia a day in my life. I don't know what you mean by that. But it came from, at least in my generation, starting from the schools, in your neighborhoods, everywhere. It was a very large emphasis on you need to learn how to speak English. And in my schools, you weren't necessarily allowed to talk in Amharic because everybody was really pushing the idea of your English needs to be good. So all our subjects are in English. When you're at home, they're like, speak English more.
Did you though?
I guess so. I picked it up kind of quickly because I liked movies. That was my thing. I wasn't a very outdoorsy kid. I watched a lot of movies and I consumed a lot of content that was in English growing up. And everybody around me did the same as well. So to me, this isn't, wow, why are you speaking English? To me, in my world, in my little bubble of Ethiopian friends and community that I have, I think most people sound like me.
Yeah.
And so to me, this isn't such a big surprise. But we chose to do this in English because I feel like we gatekeep Ethiopia in the sense that we don't really allow the rest of the world to see us. And I get it. I understand. But at the same time, from the moment we started, we talked about we want to bridge that gap. We want to allow the rest of the world to be able to see us too and see that, yes, we live in different countries, but essentially most young people at this point in time, we have sort of the same experiences in life. We're going through the same things. It's actually very relatable if we could communicate with each other. And so we wanted to make content that, of course, we want Ethiopians to participate in it. A lot of people in our generation, in our bubbles, again, English has sort of become our primary form of communication, but also it allows people that aren't from this country to join as well.
My situation is different. I grew up abroad, so it's just easier for me to communicate in English. I do speak other languages, but it's just not the same in terms of expressing yourself. In terms of being able to get your ideas out. Plus, like I said, I'm used to doing it in English, so I kind of wanted to continue that way.
You're like,
but also, I'm kind of glad that we're the first to kind of do it. Can we say that we're kind of the first?
Hopefully. But we'll get Hawi to speak Amarinya, and you guys will be the judge of that eventually.
I'm terrible, please.
Actually.
No, I'm looking directly at the camera. I'm not going to speak. If I do, I'll like sprinkle in Amarinya, but I'm not going to do a whole lot. But yeah, I feel like for me, it was just easier. And I think that there are a lot of Ethiopian diaspora who are like me, who come from abroad and who live here and who are trying to navigate living in Ethiopia, but being also from abroad and trying to find that niche community because you feel like, is there anybody like me? Is there anybody who understands me? Yeah. So for me, I feel like I'm kind of a representative. So hi, guys. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna get into a little bit of a game so that you guys can get to know us.
I like that
better. So make sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So we're back.
We is.
I don't think we can call this a game, but I think it's like asking questions about each other to get to know each other better.
Not just each other, but these are great questions to ask new people you meet as well. I personally think they tell you a lot about a person, even though they're not very personal.
Let me see how well I know you concerning these questions. So I'll ask you.
Are we answering for each other?
No. I'm going to ask you, and then you'll let me know what you think.
Hit me.
So the first one is, what's your favorite way to spend a lazy Sunday? I know Sundays are your days. You don't leave the house on Sundays. So how would you, spend a particular Sunday?
In the good old days when I didn't work on a Sunday, the way I'd spend a lazy Sunday is my partner and I, we would sleep in late, wake up like 10:30-ish. We'd make gumfo. So Sunday is specifically a gumfo day. That's what it's called.
Do you make gumfo the way that I told you to?
So Hawi was like, you can't just make gumfo and put a little berberi in there. She said you have to use data.
Yes.
I don't know how to say that in English. It's a lot spicier than berberi. But yes, so I do. We have gumfo with a little bit of data, butter, clarified butter, and yogurt.
Yes.
We eat that, and then once you eat gumfo, it's kind of like you need to lie down again. That's how it feels. So we lie down, I'll be on my phone, he'll be playing video games. Late afternoon, we'll have a cup of coffee, watch a movie. The goal is, on a lazy Sunday, is to do as just little as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So sloth level speed. No moving, no picking up phone calls, no going outside. It used to get me in a lot of trouble because that's how I spent every Sunday.
How did that get you in trouble?
I've missed shumgilinas, I've missed funerals, weddings. Because why are you asking me to leave my house on a Sunday?
You guys don't understand. TG, it doesn't matter if the world is going to end. You're not leaving your house.
You should have planned better. Why is it on a Sunday?
You guys think I'm exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. She will not leave her house. And so I know that about you.
Yes, I've lost a lot of friends because they've asked me to be a part of something on a Sunday, and I've said, absolutely not. That is the Lord's Day. Don't ask me to leave my house.
I have to respect the boundaries. I think I respect that.
Yeah. How do you spend, or how is your dream lazy Sunday?
Okay, let me be realistic and tell you how a Sunday really goes down with me.
Okay.
Nothing. I do nothing.
You at least go to the living room?
I mean, to get food, yeah.
Okay.
Like, I'm just chilling. I'm literally using the day to, like, recuperate and get as much energy as possible because Monday is a very long day for me. So I'm literally watching movies, listening to music. If I listen to music, okay, I don't know about you guys, but like I'm literally, since I live alone, I'll like sing around the house, and it's like I'll look in the mirror, sing to myself, and I'm like cooking and like singing, going back to my room, watching movies, trying to like, if I'm watching a series, trying to finish as many episodes as possible.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not going to watch it throughout the week. So I try to catch up during the weekend.
I think it's important that everybody pretend that they don't exist one day a week.
Yeah.
And just completely forget all their responsibilities.
So for me, a given Sunday that I consider to be perfect is I get to eat whatever I want. sleep, read, watch movies, and see as few people as possible.
And don't call me either. Yeah, that's very much, that's the vibes.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, this is kind of a tough question. We're not very genre phobic. We like to listen to a little bit of everything when it comes to music. So if you did have to listen to one genre of music for the rest of your life, what would it be?
R&B.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be R&B for me. But I mean, the thing I like about R&B is that it takes, like, it samples from, like, different genres. But I'm an R&B girl. I love R&B. So for me, it's gonna have to be R&B, especially old school R&B.
I see.
What about you?
I fought myself back and forth with this question.
Really?
'Cause I have two great loves. I love reggae and I love R&B. So same, we're like still in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
But if you ask me lately, it would have to be neo soul. That's new for me.
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of my life, give me some Erykah Badu, and I'm set. It's fine. I like that kind of music.
Neo soul is great too. I kind of bunch neo soul a little bit with R&B.
Okay.
I'm telling you, like, R&B can be pretty broad. So for me, I would go with R&B.
Hopefully we can make these people a playlist because that's what we're used to doing on radio.
That's the thing I'm sad about.
Me too.
I feel like this podcast, people are not able to experience our musical taste.
Maybe we'll make Spotify playlists for y'all.
Awazi Spotify playlist. Sounds good to me. All right, let's go with another question that I want to ask you is, what's the most adventurous thing that you've ever done, and would you do it again?
Lord, I'm not very adventurous, so this is a disclaimer. I like safety. I'm a safety girl.
Yeah.
And I don't like to be in dangerous places a whole bunch. So I will say that one time I walked on a runway.
Oh, yeah.
That was probably one of the scariest ones.
Yeah.
It's either that or my mechanical engineering degree. And I think it's a tie between that was an adventure in and of itself. There was like 7 of us girls graduating in my batch for mechanical engineering and like 200 boys. So that was a 5-year adventure, and it took a whole bunch of years off my life too.
Yeah.
So that's definitely up there for me. What about you?
Man, the thing is, because I feel like I live a ridiculous kind of life.
You do. Your life is kind of wonky. And like
It feels like any given day can be adventurous, but things that I've done intentionally.
Okay.
I've always wanted to bungee jump, and I never got to do that.
Yeah.
So the closest thing was zip lining. So I got to zip line, and I'm like, I feel like zip lining is preparing me for bungee jumping / you know when you jump out of a plane? What is that called again? Why am I forgetting what it's called?
Paragliding, parasailing.
No.
I don't know.
Guys, what is it called? Skydiving. What the heck is wrong with me?
I need to eat.
I need to eat.
It's the food.
But skydiving. So it's the closest thing. So I feel like it's getting me ready for that. Would you ever skydive?
Absolutely not.
So we wouldn't do like an Awazi skydive together?
Pay me enough to jump out of an airplane.
What about zip
Why
lining?
do people even do that in the
Would
first
you
place?
zip line though?
No. I said I'm a safe. I mean, I wouldn't look over the edge of a building. That's
Okay, you're afraid of heights.
I'm afraid of everything. I know.
I forgot about that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm afraid of everything in the sense that I don't put my life in unnecessary risk. If that makes sense.
You know what I'm afraid of?
You're an adrenaline junkie.
I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like when I'm in a minivan and the driver goes a little bit too fast, and if it's like there's speed bumps, I'll be like, wait, and people are like, what are you doing?
And
I'm like,
this is me
I
whole
feel like
time.
I'm in a roller coaster, so I'll be like, ah. So yeah, I enjoy the adrenaline.
I'm pushing the like imaginary brakes while that's happening.
Oh man, the only thing I'm afraid of, I'm scared of spiders or
And
anything that
clowns.
has too many legs that moves too fast. I hate that. I hate anything that just moves really fast.
Yes. Where in Lord's name there was a spider in the studio or something at Afro at some point?
You were in the studio. And I was like, there was a spider and it was on the corner. And this is the thing I hate about spiders being near a door. I feel like if I try to go through the door, the spider's gonna jump on me. So I was like, TJ!
Yeah.
Because you came and you're like, is this what you're afraid of? And you killed it. But I'm better now. I can kill bigger spiders now.
Is that right?
Didn't I tell you what happened to me in my house?
What happened?
That's a story for another time, guys. Apparently, I killed a spider as big as my hand.
I see.
I left the window in my house open all day. And then I came back home and I was like, yeah, we're going to watch. I was going to watch the series. I was so excited because I came out of the bathroom and the spider was on the wall. And I was like, Jesus, there's nobody home, but it's just me. What am I going to do? I was so scared because I went to get this broom and I was like, Jesus, give me the strength of David when he fought against Goliath. And I opened the song, Eye of the Tiger.
Oh,
because it was like,
dun,
dun. Like I was getting myself in the mood. And then like I literally screamed.
That's
and I like, beat it to death. Like even after it was dead, I was like, and
that's actually
literally killing it. And then I just like got it out of the house.
Hilarious. Yes, I do. Yeah. I realize. And you're afraid of clowns as well.
Oh my God.
You have a clown
Guys, we're not going
phobia.
to talk about it. I'm so scared of clowns, but I'm so
I
scared
accidentally sent her clown makeup I did a few years ago, and that's how I found out you had a clown phobia.
Moving on.
She's like, don't even bring them up.
Let's move on.
Absolutely. What is a time that you stepped out of your comfort zone? And was it a good thing that you left or a bad thing?
I stepped out of my comfort zone by coming to Ethiopia.
That's it. Move.
This was a huge shift for me. I don't think people realize when you live in another country your entire life. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know the culture. I didn't understand certain it's not even just the language and culture, but there's just certain things that make you Ethiopian.
You have to grow up here to get it.
That you have to get. And it took me time to get. And so I think I'm a kind of person, I don't care if people laugh at me.
Yeah.
I really don't care. So like I would speak Amarnya and people would be like, girl, what?
Stop
You're
it.
terrible. And I'm like, I know I'm terrible, but you understand me. And now I can like converse with people. It's okay. But initially it's like, Ethiopia is not for the weak in the sense that you kind of have to build a backbone to live here.
Do.
You got to get used to doing things on your own. The taxi system and traveling in Addis is not easy because it's not like roads. Like, you're not reading road signs. It's like based on safar. So if like you're like, okay, like where do I go? You just have to figure out where the road is, like what's near what. You have to like learn the language. You have to understand like behaviors of like just Ethiopian
social
behaviors,
etiquette. There's a lot.
Social cues. So like it took me time to get. I believe I can say that I'm an Ethiopian now, and I'm like I've gotten down.
You're better than me.
I'm
at
not
most
better
things.
than you, TG.
At most things.
No, I'm not. Like what?
Like I have no idea what Teffera is where.
Oh, I know Addis well. I can say that. I know Addis well. I'll even get mad at like ride drivers and I'll be like, you're not going the right way. You're trying to charge me a lot of money. Let's go around. Like
I have no sense of direction. So that is a problem for sure.
Yeah.
For me, getting out of my comfort zone, again, I'm a safety person, so I don't do that very often. I would say the biggest leap that I took of getting out of my comfort zone was leaving Afro.
Leaving Afro.
Leaving Afro.
How
Because
so?
Afro was so comfortable to me. Afro was home. Everybody there was like family. It wasn't necessarily that we made a lot of money, but we just felt so comfortable around everybody that was there. And I didn't know how I could pursue creating content or being on radio if I left. Because by the time we left, we didn't actually have Awaze on the books.
That's real.
We quit first, and then we
figured
came
it
up
out.
with that plan.
But that's real though.
So walking away from Afro was one of, because again, I had that job for 5 years. I did that job from when I was 21. So it was all I knew.
Right.
And by the time I had to quit, it was sort of like, okay, what do I do after this? I definitely don't want to get a job with my degree. Would anybody hire me? Like, am I starting a business? I wanted to do a bakery. I wanted to do makeup. And I went through so many stages before I realized, I could actually keep doing this. Dope. So it worked out for me.
It worked out great.
Very well.
It worked out great for the both of us.
But quitting a job without having another job lined up, and in our cases, we don't necessarily have people that will back us financially. We have to pay our own bills. There's no family that we can run back to and lean on and be like, hey, can I crash here for a little bit? We did not have those things.
I think it's interesting when you talk about being the first to build something for generations after you.
Yeah.
Like, we don't come from that. So everything that we had, we built together.
We had to
created
work for.
Together. We started off together. So I think we should talk about that in another episode.
Absolutely. It's not fun.
It's not.
That's all I'll tell you. It's great to come from generational wealth, I'm
100%,
sure.
100%.
Not fun.
So the last question I want to ask you is, if you could travel back in time
Okay.
to any era,
Okay.
what era would that be?
Lord, I'm a black woman, so there's very few eras that I can go to
Okay.
and be safe. I'm just saying, realistically speaking. Out of Ethiopia's history, I am a little bit obsessed with Haile Selassie.
Oh.
And just, like, I understand there were problems in the background, but the glamour and the glitz and the, like, very sophisticated way that
Is that the 20s, the 30s?
I believe so.
Okay.
But the way they presented themselves, it would be interesting to get an up close look at that.
Yeah.
Just the monarchy, the way that they paid attention to theater, music, culture, arts, the education as well. So it was an interesting era for me, at least from my understanding of it. I'm not talking about that era anywhere else in the world. I mean, specifically if I were to go back in time in Ethiopia.
In Ethiopia.
Anywhere else, I don't want to see y'all past. I don't think it's that great.
That's real.
What
Okay.
about you?
I would have to say the 90s.
Oh,
I mean,
We lived through the 90s.
No, I didn't enjoy it. That
know,
was the
we
problem.
were babies.
Like, I think now we look back and we're like, dang, the 90s were great.
they were so fun.
But we didn't know how great they were until now. So I feel like I want a do-over, and I want
Yeah.
to go back and, like, enjoy the 90s, enjoy the music, enjoy the memories, enjoy being a kid, enjoy time without social media and
Yeah.
living in the present, playing outside, making new friends, riding my bike, playing Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the 90s was such a sweet time.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that feeling, but I don't think we appreciated that. So I want to go back and appreciate the 90s and relive it one more time.
I like that. Can I take back my
Yes,
answer?
you can.
I want to come join you in the 90s. You're right.
Yeah.
It was fun. I was only 5 when the 90s ended, so I didn't really get to
Experience
kind
it
of
to that
looked
degree.
yeah, you looked back at the 90s as if you were there. It was definitely a pretendy moment.
I can't believe this is our first episode.
It is. I hope people got some sort of a grasp of who we are. We do want to tell you guys that going forward in this show, the reason that we created this is very much to create a safe space for us all to come and talk about the things that any young Ethiopian is experiencing. This is very much a safe space. We are not the divisive type of platform. We're just trying to heal and grow together.
Yeah.
And make ourselves better and continue to hustle and continue to succeed. And that is the goal for the show. We have so many exciting things lined up for everyone.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see where this journey takes us. And so congratulations again.
Yes, and I hope people get to see that this show is not just only, you know what I mean, like 2 women, but it's, 2 Ethiopian women, and it's women with, different experiences, but I'm sure a lot of people can see themselves in you and in me. So this is just the beginning.
This is a hello.
And I'm
Nice to meet
excited for
ya.
the journey.
Me too.
And cheers.
Thank God for that. And as usual, stay hydrated, make good decisions, mind your business. Bye.
Sending memes back and forth, saying